At the beginning of the film, we observe a girl wandering through a dark green forest. Jill often checks the map and looks around, wanting to find the right place. Upon reaching the table with the bench, the girl pulls out the map and shades the area she just checked. The area check is complete for today, so Jill gets into her blue car and gets ready to leave. According to the map, the girl has already checked quite a large area of the forest, but she still hasn't reached the place she so desperately wants to find. From Forest Park, Jill drives back to town along an empty track surrounded by dense forest. Back home, the girl takes a shower and approaches Molly. Jill's sister is sitting in the kitchen, preparing hard for an exam due tomorrow. The girl offers Molly different pills to calm down, but she refuses. The sister realizes that Jill has been in the park, and this makes her angry. The girl says she can't help herself. Molly parries, because if she got drunk every day and made excuses for herself, would anyone feel better? The sister gets a call from her handsome mate, who she wants to set Jill up with. Molly hopes that this will make the girl feel better, and she won't have to go to the park anymore. Standing in front of the mirror, Jill remembers how she was kidnapped. Early in the morning, the girl is about to leave, but can't because of Molly's car. Her sister gives Jill her car and continues to prepare for the exam. The girl is slightly alarmed by the surroundings, but she still leaves. Jill goes to training where she hones her self-defense skills. Sometimes the girl gets too into the taste, and the coach has to pull her away from her opponent. In the evening, Jill calls her sister and tells her she's ready to go out to dinner with her and her mate. Molly chats with her boyfriend and then goes to bed. Jill, meanwhile, heads to a cafe where she works part-time as a waitress. At work, the girl gets a reminder that it's time for her to take her pills. At the end of the shift, Jill counts the proceeds and says goodbye to her colleagues until Monday. Early in the morning, the girl returns home and tries to wake Molly up. When Jill looks into the bedroom, she instantly turns pale because her sister isn't there. All of Molly's textbooks and belongings are still there. In a state close to panic, Jill tries to find her sister, but all in vain. She takes her weapon out of the stash and leaves a message for Molly to call her back. On the floor, Jill finds an earring, which brings her back to the memories of the kidnapping. The girl goes to the police and talks to Powers. Jill says that the criminal who kidnapped her not too long ago has returned and has now kidnapped her sister. The girl begs the police to believe her, because she knows that Molly has only a day before she is taken from her life. The cops don't believe Jill's story, as her sister could just be out drinking with her friends or her boyfriend, so there's no cause for concern. However, the girl is obsessed with the idea that all the recently missing girls, including Molly, were victims of a criminal from whom she managed to escape. Only one detective agrees to check Jill's case and help her. The girl thanks Quinn. The others at the police station are convinced that there is no criminal that Jill is constantly raving about. Powers tells the detective that about a year ago, the girl was found in the northern part of Forest Park. She was covered in mud and said something about a kidnapper and a pit of bones. However, no trace of such a shelter was found. Also, there were no signs of forced entry in the house and no other people's prints on Jill. The police were aware of her mental health problems, so they put it down to a nervous breakdown. Jill's parents died, and she was admitted to a specialized clinic. The girl doesn't give up and looks around the house with Molly's boyfriend. Billy is inclined to think that his beloved just overexcited and decided to drink before the exam. When the guy leaves, Jill goes to the neighbor, who doesn't sleep at night. The girl lies that someone stole her bicycle during the night. The neighbor remembers that around 1 a.m., someone honked very loudly twice and stopped in front of Jill's house and drove off a few minutes later. The girl realizes that the driver of this car has kidnapped Molly. The neighbor also says that it wasn't just any car, but a gray and blue van, like a locksmith's. At home, Jill looks through photos on the internet and finds a similar car from a local workshop. The girl goes there, continuing her own investigation. Jill talks to the owner of the workshop and his son. It turns out that no vans had been out on calls during the night. A distraught Jill remembers how, after the kidnapping, She woke up in a pit with her mouth taped shut and her hands tied. The girl decides to check the van and finds the same duct tape there, as well as a strange check. Jill talks to the owner's son and learns that at night some guy asked to take the van and gave $200 for it. Jill learns that the alleged criminal was quite tall and wore a baseball cap. The girl receives a call from Powers, who demands that she hand over her weapon. A couple of minutes later, a detective contacts Jill. Quinn says that the case has been handed over to him. He believes that the same criminal kidnapped Molly and promises that together they will find her. However, Jill no longer trusts the police and refuses the detective's help. The girl goes to the shop where the criminal buys duct tape and petrol last night. Jill contacts Molly's boyfriend. Billy says that the girl wasn't at the exam, and neither was the guy who was hitting on her. The guy lives in the dormitory, and Jill promises that she'll stop by and check on him. The first thing the girl does is go to the shop. Jill finds out that the purchase was made by a guy of about 30 who came in a maroon car. The girl doesn't know that her car has been sent out in APB and a bunch of cops are waiting for her near the car. Jill also learns that the guy is staying at a hotel nearby. As she is about to go outside, the girl notices a lot of policemen. Jill hides in the toilet and knocks out the grate with a gun. The girl runs out of the shop, hearing sirens wailing behind her. Jill manages to escape from the eyes of the police, chatting with schoolgirls about Justin Bieber. Having received a call from a detective, the girl tells him that there is no need to interfere with the search for her sister. After that, Jill goes to the dormitory. The girl checks the guy's room where, as it seems to Billy, Molly may be. However, instead of her sister, Jill finds another guy in the bed. After that, the girl runs away from the dormitory. Jill goes to the hotel and finds out from one of the guests that the guy who kidnapped her sister is called Jim, and he lives in room 2A. Without wasting time, the girl immediately goes there. Jill goes up to the second floor and opens the door of the room she needs. Holding a gun in her hands, the girl looks around and soon finds another skein of duct tape. Also in the room, Jill discovers a bag of dog food. The girl remembers that when she woke up in the pit, she saw this very food in the bowl. Leaving the room, Jill notices on the floor a card from the cafe where she works. The girl suddenly remembers a tall guy in a baseball cap, whom she often had to serve. Jill realizes that she has found the criminal. The girl attacks a cleaner, mistaking him for another. On the street, Jill offers a man a large sum of money to rent his used car for one day. As he drives away, the girl jokes that if she doesn't return the car in the morning, it means she is no longer alive. While driving the car, Jill receives a call from her doctor. The psychiatrist tries to convince the girl that the criminal has disappeared and didn't take Molly. But nothing helps. Jill came on the trail of the kidnapper and is ready to do anything to save her sister. The girl goes to her colleague and wants to talk to her about their client. It turns out that the woman even knows his name and also had his phone number. Jill takes the piece of paper and thanks her colleague for her help. The woman wants Jill to give the phone number to the police, but she silently runs away and gets into the car. The girl is chased again due to speeding. Jill manages to escape, after which she visits her colleague again, and she gives her the keys to her car. The girl stops on a quiet street and calls Jim. The guy says that he isn't involved in Molly's kidnapping, after which he suggests Jill to meet in an abandoned house. The girl receives a call from Billy, who states that Molly is back. Jill realizes that this is a lie and says that she is on the way to meet her kidnapper. The girl chats with Jim, and the guy asks how she got saved. Jill reveals that she stunned the kidnapper with a bone and then made her way to the surface. Molly, meanwhile, regains consciousness and tries to free herself from the duct tape. Jill gets to the criminal's dwelling and sees many pictures of the kidnapped girls. Meanwhile, Molly makes her way out of the basement of her own home, where the criminal has hidden her. Jill, who left her phone in the car, cannot know that her sister has been saved. But even if she knew, The girl would still go to meet Jim to punish him for all the horrors that he caused to happen to defenseless girls. The criminal kidnapped them, tied them up, and threw them into a horrible pit filled with the bones of previous victims. Only Jill miraculously managed to save herself, but her story was considered implausible, and she was put in an institution for the mentally ill. Even a year later, the girl flinched nervously when she saw men on the pavement at night. And now Jill can finally get revenge on the man who almost took her life and kidnapped her sister. The girl reaches the pit and notices a mannequin in Molly's pajamas at the bottom. A man's hand grabs Jill, whereupon she falls to the bottom of the pit. Jim says that the girl never wanted to leave, and now it's just the two of them. The criminal attacks Jill, and she tries desperately to grab her gun. The girl wounds Jim and leaves him at the bottom of the hole. After finding out where her sister is, Jill puts the gun away and pours petrol on the still alive criminal. The girl takes the lantern off the tree and says that she lied when she said she would let Jim live. Jill sets the hole on fire and then runs to the car, wanting to get Molly out and not knowing that her sister is already safe. At home, the girl tells the cops that she made up the story about the kidnapper. A couple of days later, Jill anonymously sends the police station pictures of the kidnapped girls, including her own, as well as a map showing the location of the pit of bones. This is the end of the film. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this film, and see you in new videos.